Welcome to the Designated Drinker Show, the podcast that's raising the bar on craft cocktails. I am your host, Louise Solis, and with me is my very talented friend who is an expert in all things rum, DC's elixir mixer himself, Dwayne Sylvester.
DC elixir mixer. I think of myself more now as a drink bender. Maybe I will become DC's drink bender.
Bender?
Hi.
Well, when you figure out who you are, Dwayne, just come back to me, all right? Okay, so Dwayne, you know, Dave and I just packed up the dogs and head down south. We went down to North Carolina to visit a really, really good friend. He's one of our closest, dearest friends. And so
I thought that was me, and I don't live in North Carolina.
In North Carolina, only within the state of North Carolina.
Oh, North Kakalaki.
Exactly, North Kakalaki. So it's an interesting place. It's nice and green. It's interesting. Not that I need any other reasons other than George, obviously, to go to North Carolina, but I thought I'd share some fun facts with you that might just draw you to the first state that declared independence from England.
I knew that.
Did you? Did you know this, though? Go ahead.
Except they called it Virginia back then.
Here's something. Did you know that Babe Ruth hit his first home run in Fayetteville, North Carolina? And that was on March 7th, 1914.
That is not what she said. She said he only got to first base.
Hello. But who's on first? And speaking of other great sporting events, which, you know, that could be a sporting event, the first putt-putt golf, or mini golf, if you will, was built in North Carolina, in Fayetteville, North Carolina as well.
I got nothing.
How's your putt-putt game?
Are we still on air?
I hope so. I don't know, are we? Okay, and either way,
as many strokes as possible.
Hello. This show, I tell you. So here's one more little interesting fact. Apparently, the Venus flytrap is native to Hampstead, New Jersey, and actually only grows wild in the Carolinas. The Venus flytrap, which loads up an awful lot of other down south jokes as well.
Yes, that was like too easy. I think we've had some good ones already. I'm gonna let that one slide. Okay,
good. Probably better that we do. Janice will be really upset with this if we don't.
What did you bring me? You went to North Carolina. I haven't seen you in forever. I want gifts.
You have them. And I actually got a gift while I was staying in North Carolina. I got to hang out with the founder of Instill Distillery, and he's also the co-host of Drinkin' Brothers Sports Podcast. I sat down with him at his distillery, Instill Distillery, which is in Clayton, North Carolina. And he was really generous. He shared all his rums with me, told me some good stories, talked about business, but don't worry, I brought you back some of his tasty rums as well, because I know our show can't go on without my trusty barkeep, and I had to bring you back some really nice gifts. So what did I bring you back? You ask me, I ask you. You have the bag. Ooh. What's in the bag, Dwayne? What's in the bag?
Bitch. Let's see. This is tasty. Oh my gosh, I love the visuals on these bottles. Every bottle has a beautiful person on the bottle.
They do. So it's really cool. Eric told me all about it. It's they wanted to have their branding to be of strong women, and those are women of their area, of the Clayton, North Carolina area, and it's done. They commissioned a bunch of artists. He told me the whole story about it, which is really great. So the imagery is a very strong women by a single artist.
Well, very strong women and over some very strong rum. I'm excited here. I have 3 rums. I have the white rum from Instill Distilling. Mm-hmm. And then there's a beautiful spice rum with natural flavors, also at 40% alcohol. And, how do I say this? Aeba rum, which is like their gold or amber rum. So that looks beautiful.
Yeah. And so they do that with, he told me all about that, about how they actually make that rum, and it's using technology to create the rum, to age the rum. So why don't we sit back, if you sip a little bit of his rums, and we could sit back, listen to a little bit of the boozy banter, and hear Eric tell us all about his rums, and you and I can talk about it on the flip side.
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. So Eric, thanks for having me.
No, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming and hanging out with me.
Oh my gosh.
So I hear you have a really interesting story. Tell me, how the hell did this all start?
I mean, so it all, believe it or not, it all started out with I always mess this part up because I always say a wine affinity, but it's affinity for wine, right? That's how you say it? I have an affinity for wine?
Yes, you have an affinity for wine.
It started out with a wine passion. We were, my business partner and I were both serving in the military together on the special operations side of things, and the operation tempo back then was really high.
Oh, so you're just a real low-key kind of guy?
Yeah. I'm a real introvert. Really shy guy.
I bet.
And between training and deploying, we would sit around and drink wine. Our favorite thing to do was go to this place called the Meat House in Raleigh. So we'd drive up from Fayetteville, and we'd go to the Meat House, and we'd look for some kind of obscure piece of meat, because they had all sorts of weird stuff like bison and elk and
just the most obscure piece.
Yeah, and so we would go in there and we'd pick out something weird that you couldn't find at Lowe's or Harris Teeter, and we'd take it home and grill it, because back then the green egg was the cool thing, right? Like Traeger is kind of the cool thing. Yeah. I'm still a green egg guy.
Green egg? Is that a sponsor of your podcast?
No,
I'm just kidding.
It's not. I wish they were.
Green egg, if you're listening.
Green egg. We love you, green egg. Honest to God, we do have the Traeger, but the green egg, man, it's the purest way of doing things, in my opinion.
There you go.
But anyway, we'd take it home to the green egg, and we'd throw it on there. And one day we were in there getting something weird. I think the meat was bison. Everybody always says, what was the meat? And I don't really remember, but I do believe it was bison. And the guy said, well, you should take this bottle of wine home. And I don't really remember the wine, but I'm guessing it was a Burgundy at the time, because I remember paying like $30-something, and I remember it pairing perfect with the bison.
Nice.
And so I think it was Burgundy, because I kind of remember what was on the bottle. Knowing wine like I do now, I'm guessing we went home with the Burgundy. But we took it home, and that was when the magic started. So we were like, wow, this is really good. The wine goes perfect with this. Our wives were really into it. And so after that, every weekend we went and got a different meat and a different wine. And then we started going to wine tastings and then wine classes. And then 8 years later, I was like, I'm going to get out of the military.
Look at you, all ate up, drinking with your pinky up, right?
Yeah, I'm like, I want to get out and sell wine, because I think I know something about wine. I got out of the military, realized I was a shit salesman. That was not going to work. And so I did the only other thing a C student without a college education can do.
And that is?
Become a cop. So I became a Raleigh police officer, and I was a police officer for 8 years. But while I was a police officer, I broke my leg fighting a murder suspect on Pool Road. We were fighting, and I broke my leg, and I got 12 screws, 2 pins, a plate, and a rod in my left leg. Broke from my ankle all the way up to my knees, and
nice parting gift.
It was a good gift.
Sure, it's fun going through the airports.
Yeah. It still hurts, like every winter, every cold front. But my wife, I was stuck in a wheelchair. My wife was like, I'm going out to grocery shop, and you need to have found a hobby by the time I get back. Like, you've got to find something to do with your time.
Yes, you're irritating the hell out of me.
So she left, she came back, and I said, I enrolled myself in the Gallo Wine Academy online, and then I also paid and registered for my Certified Specialist of Wine exam test.
Nice.
And she was like, what? And she's like, how much did that cost? And I told her, and she was like, Eric, that test is not something you just say you're going to take. Like, that's a 2-year study, and there's like 70% fail rate on your first time go. And I was like, yeah, well, I've got nothing but time. She's like, you have 5 months in a wheelchair. Like, that's not the kind of time you need. But that was it for me, man. Like, I studied harder than I'd ever studied for anything in my life. About a year and a half later, I had finished the entire Gallo Wine Academy thing online. I'd done every course, every test that there was on there. And I went and took the exam and passed and became a Certified Specialist of Wine. And then after I did that, I started working my way through the sommelier program. Finished up the first level of that, realized I don't want to be a sommelier. I mean, I love the professionalism of that culture. Yeah. I love the suit and ties. Sorry that you hear the shaking in the background.
No,
that's our bartender mixing us something magical.
It's a magical sound.
It's the sound of magic. But yeah, I thought that the professionalism, everything was great. And I liked the suit and tie thing.
What didn't you like?
I'm just not that guy. I can do a suit and tie. I can slick my hair back and do the haircut.
You can get pretty.
I can, and I can talk wine all days, but it's really just not my personality. My personality is kind of how you see me right now. Backwards hat and just kind of chill. I love wine. I love everything. I like the certified special wine. I like the farming and chemistry and the making and the process. Red wine, sweet wine, fortified wine, sparkling wine. I love all of that. But I wasn't really into, again, like selling you on the wine. I like educating. I really like educating. And as a sommelier, you can't spend that much time at a table. And for me, once we pop that, it's like Pringles. Once you pop the can, I'm not stopping. I'm talking about wine forever. So I got into wine education.
That. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I'm the same. Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
This is was this a Hawaiian Christmas song? Yeah. So we call this cocktail the Hawaiian Christmas song. So we went like traditional, and I'm sorry, I've got ADD, so your listeners are just gonna have to keep up.
It's okay.
This is kind of like, I can't even say tiki anymore because that's culturally inappropriate. What are we supposed to say?
Oh, we still say
Island?
tiki.
We can say tiki?
Yeah, we can say tiki.
Island cultural.
Well, I would say in Hawaii, it's this, because,
sure,
I lived there a long time.
Right.
We don't really have too much tiki. Actually, tiki comes from California.
It does, right, San Francisco, right? And so now there's this whole cultural inappropriateness, and it's crazy. So anytime you say tiki, you're going to get backlash, especially...
At that point, you're just like, please just drink your drink, and let's talk about what really matters.
Rum nerds are a different breed. You think bourbon guys are bad? They're not. Bourbon guys are totally tame compared to rum
This
nerds.
is delicious.
But yeah, this was kind of our tiki take on Christmas. We call this one...
on Christmas? You can't say that after...
Tiki take on Christmas. Yeah. Oh man, we just got really inappropriate.
We did.
Christmas, tiki, all in one sentence.
Oh, there we go.
Our island holiday cocktail. Yeah, island expired holiday cocktail. Yeah. So it's purple. It looks great with a little yellow umbrella. We put a little red cherry in it.
Nice.
It's super cultural island. It's tiki. It's fucking tiki. It's fucking Christmas. Drink it. You'll be less offended.
Living in DC, I mean, we're in the South. Things are a little different here, but I mean, technically DC is the South. It is the South, but we say tiki. Yeah,
I didn't know
it's you're south of the.
I got you.
The Mason-Dixon. Yeah.
You don't think about that because DC, you got like Maryland right there, Baltimore.
Yeah, you don't think it. Yeah, when I moved there, I was like, wait, I'm living in the South. Wait, what?
That's weird.
But yeah, I actually lived like. Yeah.
See, I'm living in the North because I grew up in Florida. So to me, this is living in the North.
Yeah, I guess so.
North Carolina.
You're almost a Yankee now, huh?
Almost. I feel like I am a Yankee. Actually, growing up in St. Augustine, Florida, I felt more like a Yankee because nobody's from St. Augustine, Florida. They're all from New York. They're all from...
all those snowbirds
and
coming
they tried,
in.
and they tried to blend the cultures together. So they're still Yankees, but they're trying to be Florida redneck.
Yeah.
Or Florida cracker, as they call it in Florida. Cracker came from the term cracking the whip on the bulls.
Yes.
And the Indians actually gave them that name because they were always cracking whips at horses and bulls. So the Indians gave them the name Cracker. Had nothing to do with slavery.
You mean the Native Americans?
Yes, the Native Americans. The Seminoles, actually, is who gave that name. Anyway,
it's funny. We're usually not this politically correct on this show.
Yeah.
Thank you for
raising
everything. The bar.
Listen,
Thank you for raising the bar.
I am a disgusting human being. My wife will tell you. Yes, some of the military culture never left me. So, so the Florida cracker thing, the Yankees come down there and they say, you want another hot dog, y'all? So they're trying to blend it. So you're like, did you say hot dog and y'all in the same sentence?
See, I don't, lived in the South for a while and never adapted y'all in my, because I can't say it correctly. Right. Every time I try, I'm obviously trying. Yeah. So I don't.
Yeah, Florida doesn't really have like its own language like North Carolina. Like you come up here, man, and y'all that's part of, it's hey y'all.
Yeah.
Hey y'all. Actually, there's a rum distillery, not a rum distillery, but a spirits distillery. And their whole slogan is hey y'all, which I thought was always funny.
That is funny.
So North Carolina.
Well, it's interesting living in the South and not being from the South. I realized that, the rest of us just lump it all together. Right. Minus Florida. Yes. Everything in Texas.
Florida, and Florida was the last state. It's the oldest, St. Augustine is the oldest city in America.
Yep.
But not the first because it was owned by Spain.
Yep.
So they never got credit. But
do you also know that there are no dinosaur fossils in the entire state of Florida?
I believe it.
And the reason why is
except alligators
was underwater.
Yeah.
During dinosaur age.
Sure.
Which is
why the alligators are so prevalent down there. Because those are dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's a fucking dinosaur. When you look at an alligator, if you don't see a dinosaur, you're crazy.
You have gators or.
I grew up
in North Carolina.
Towards the beach, but I grew up like not being able to go to school because alligators would block the neighborhood entrance.
Really?
And the bus wouldn't be able to get down there. You're not allowed to run over them.
Yeah.
So they would, instead of having a snow day, you'd have an alligator
That's
day.
Mother Nature's way of trying to thin our herd.
This thing's
Bitch,
scary.
I'll send the alligators after you.
I mean, yeah, Florida's a train wreck, man. If you live in Florida, it's like living in Australia. You got to be tough. The mosquitoes, you got alligator stabbing, turtles, all those snakes, tons of poisonous snakes. Casey Anthony.
Yeah.
Casey Anthony, you got to worry about that. Florida's a train wreck.
It is a train wreck. And you have people leaving their pet snakes, and now they have the giant, like
was it pythons or something?
Pythons that are like 1 billion feet long. They're like abnormally big.
Best thing I ever did was get out of Florida.
Yeah.
Best thing that I ever did.
My brother lives there, and I will, and not during, obviously, this time, but in certain, before our dark days of COVID.
But they're so strong in Florida that they don't even give a fuck about COVID. They're just wide open. They were like, COVID, come on. We've got Casey Anthony. Let's go. Send it. Everybody do what you want.
Yeah.
And I respect that.
Yeah, he has gators that walk up to his house. And, and then I do think it's interesting that everybody has their lanais screened in. That makes sense.
What is a lanai?
So a lanai is one of those words that stuck in my vocabulary, my jargon, or part of my jargon now from Hawaii. There's a few words, and that word works so well because it's any outdoor space.
Okay.
It can be. It doesn't matter if it's a deck, it's a patio, it's like we have like all the balcony, all of those things in Hawaii. Lanais.
Lanais.
Yeah, and you can just
Sounds super cultured.
Yeah. Well.
I wouldn't be able to pull it off. I would try to pull it off and sound smart, and everybody would make fun of me. And I'd be like, "What did you just say, Eric? What did you just say?"
But everyone has a screened-in lanai because otherwise the mosquitoes.
You have to have one. If you don't have a screened-in lanai in Florida,
you can't go outside.
You'll get picked up by the mosquitoes and taken off to the great land forgotten. Yeah.
All right, so should we get back to your rum? What do we have? We have little tastings here.
Yeah, I do.
I've never had your rum, and I've heard really good things.
Yeah. So when I did the going back to where we left off, I know I'm a train wreck.
That's okay. Go to the show.
I wanted wine education was one of my things. So I started teaching wine classes. I ran into a lawyer, and he was like, "Hey, man. Just took your class. I heard you're a cop." And I said, "Yeah, I am." And he's like, "I'm a lawyer." I was like, "Oh shit." And he was like, "Man, you should come to my law firm." And,
what kind of law?
Medical litigation.
Oh.
So he, people that like wrongful death.
Yeah.
Suits, stuff like that.
Light stuff.
Actually, it was funny because a friend of mine had gotten a tattoo lasered off and had severed like some kind of ligament. They left the laser on too long, and he was a Green Beret and he lost a lot of movement in his arm. And this guy actually represented him.
What's crazy? A Green Beret loses. I mean, of all the things that they do, getting a tattoo
removed. Gets jacked up getting a tattoo removed.
Good Lord.
But anyway, so I started hanging out at his office once a week, and it was crazy because I'm a cop and he's a lawyer. We're complete opposites. He's a Democrat. I'm a Republican. If I had to choose, I would probably choose Republican. He's different religiously than I am. And so everything about us was 100% opposite.
Yeah.
But our banter was always fun and lighthearted and entertaining, and it was never really argumentative. We're still like that to this day. And one night we were just drinking, and it was kind of like, that was my wind down, because wind down. But I would go to his law firm, we'd lock the door, and he'd pull out some wine. And it was always like really good wine, and we were always competing to see who could bring the best wine for the night.
Nice.
And we would just talk all sorts of cool, fun stuff. And one day I gave a rant about craft spirits and how I thought craft spirits was failing, whereas the craft beer was winning. And I thought if craft spirits could just go in that direction, that craft spirits could be the next thing. And he'd made a joke like, let's get a still and like,
how long ago is this?
Like 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, let's make rum, or not make rum, but he was like, let's make some spirits in my garage, and we could do our own thing. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Well, we woke up the next day, sobered up a little bit. I figured that a cop and a lawyer, morally, ethically, and legally, probably shouldn't be dabbling in moonshining. But I mean, that was it, man. Like the seed had been planted in my brain. I woke up the next day. I told my wife, I said, look, I'm going to open up a distillery. She laughed because I had just had this wine blog that was just taken off. I mean, we'd had like 22,000 followers. Aldi and Lidl and a bunch of other Trader Joe's had reached out to us to
nice.
do paid blogs on their stores. We had a master of wine that was contacting us, sending us wine. We had a whole, every part of our house was full of wine to rate and review, and it was really great. And I said, and she's like, well, what about this website? What about the website? And I was like, I'm done with the website. And she was like, you can't be. Like, we put hundreds and thousands of hours I was like, no, I'm done. I'm going to build a distillery. And she was like, with what money? I was like, I don't know. You're asking a lot of questions. I haven't had any coffee, but I'm going to do it. And
well, ADD, are you?
Yeah.
Or ADHD, I should say.
And I spent the next 6 months Googling how to write a business plan. And then I spent 3 months after the 6 months writing a business plan. And then I pitched it back over to the lawyer and said, hey man, look, I wrote this. What do you think about it? I'm going to try to find like an investor or something. I don't really know what the next step is. Maybe find a loan, but I want to make sure that this plan is legit and it looks right. And he was like, man, I've had a lot of people pitch me business plans. I've never had one like this. I was like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? He's like, dude, I'll be your partner.
Wow.
And you'll just do this, and I'll just do your legal stuff, and I'll back you up. And he's like, but if I have to gamble, I'm gambling on you. And I was like, wow. So I said, but look, man, I've got this buddy. We started special operations together. We've been on this journey our whole lives. He's 15 years in. He's got 5 years till retirement. And I was like, this really would be our dream as well. So can we bring him on? And he was like, sure. So we brought him on, and the three of us, we, under the pretense of I wanted to make craft spirits win. And I think before we get into this tasting, that's what's the most important, is that our motto here at Instill Distilling Company is that I wanted to be a blue-collar distillery with a white-collar spirit at a blue-collar price. Because when I was rating reviewing wines blindly, there was a direct correlation to wines that reviewed high, even blindly. A wine that reviews high, when you often look at it in its totality, it has a great story. The owners are great people. Everything about the bottle has a story, from what's on the front of the label to what's on the back of the label. There's 100% transparency on the bottle, and the bottles that don't score well blindly, again, like you've already scored it, rated, and graded, and now you're seeing the bottle, and you're like, well, I didn't give this wine a very good rating, and then you look at the bottle label, and it's got a terrible story in the front. It's owned by a conglomerate, or it's owned by a corporation, or and there's nothing personal about the whole thing. It's just a gimmick. There's no transparency, and so I was like, and craft spirits is really kind of going down that route. Whereas I thought there was a lot of craft distillers, not all of them, but a lot of them would have like 32 investors and calling themselves a craft distillery. But that's not, where's the craft? Like, you're just throwing money at the industry, and they're coming out with the same vodka, or the same, and what I call bad vodka, where it's like, these guys making rum even, where there's no flavor, right? Like we're just distilling it to neutral. And for your listeners out there, in distillation, neutral is the easiest thing in the world to do. Like vodka, making good vodka is not easy. No. I'm not saying that, but making vodka is easy. Making something to label vodka is easy. It's because, they say Starbucks has the same coffee in Washington as it does in South Africa because they burn the roast. Have you ever heard that?
Yes.
So they burn the roast so it tastes the same, but it's kind of, it's still burnt coffee,
it tastes
right?
like burnt coffee.
And so when you get real craft coffee, there's a huge difference. Yep. And so that's kind of the burnt coffee thing, is kind of like what the spirits industry is doing with neutral spirits. We're making spirits that are 100% neutral because it's really quick and easy. You're just distilling it over and over again. So you see like once, twice, 3 times distilled. Well, what you're saying is that you've got no flavor. But that's easy to make a product that has no flavor all the way across the board. And so people have thought in their brains that spirits are supposed to taste like water. They're not supposed to have a burn. And I correlate that to like Natural Light, Bud Light, and Coors Light, right? Like remember 15 years ago when all beer tastes the same? Remember that? And you would just go on brand? Like, well, I'm a Coors Light guy, or I'm a Bud Light girl. I mean, if you did it on blind tasting, you never found a difference. So I thought the spirits industry was really headed down that direction, where everybody was making Bud Light, Coors Light, Natural Light. There wasn't a big difference. There wasn't anything crafty about it. It was like, let's distill it to neutral. Let's throw it in an oak barrel. Let's leave it there for 4 years. I mean, there's like 13 major bourbon distilleries in Kentucky, but how many bourbons are on the shelf? Like hundreds. You know what I mean? But there's only 13 major bourbon distilleries because they've all renamed. I think Ancient Age is the same thing as, is 2 years younger Buffalo Trace, something like that. I mean, it's all kind of correlated into this big, giant, in my opinion, like, let's just put it in an oak barrel and mask all the disguising of the taste and the characteristics. And that's why bourbon guys, to me, just aren't very interesting human beings, because bourbon doesn't really get that much different in that whatever 19-mile stretch of Kentucky, 20-mile stretch of Kentucky. I'm more of like a rum, mezcal, tequila, bourbon, scotch, Irish. I'm basically an alcoholic. I like all of it.
We call
I
ourselves
enjoy
professional drinkers now.
Professional drinker, yeah. I'm a designated drinker.
Yes.
And so I wanted to make spirits that were more around what it was back in the old days, where you wanted flavor, where you wanted this, where you manipulated the body and the texture and drink it like wine. And my whole goal and my business plan even says it, is that I'm not in it to win the money. I'm in it to win gold medals. Like, I am in it to win.
Yes.
And I want to win at a blue-collar price, because there's nothing greater than reviewing a wine blindly or a beer blindly, figuring out how excellent it is, reading this fabulous story, and then hitting the price point of $20 and $19, and you're like, what?
Yep.
Holy cow, like, why isn't everybody in the world drinking this?
It's funny, is I call those my Wednesday night wines, but but I drink them almost all the time. But it's because it's a really great wine, but it's at a good price point.
Right.
And they're really hard
Bang
to
for
find.
buck.
Yeah. And my thing is that it doesn't, just because you spent a lot doesn't mean you got better.
Right. And then sometimes you spend a lot just because, for the nostalgic purposes or whatever, it'd be like going to a batting cage and swinging a DeMarini bat, which is obviously better than a wooden bat. But if it was Jose Canseco's wooden bat, like, let's pay more money because it's Jose Canseco's wooden bat, right? Like, obviously the DeMarini's going to make the ball go further, but I'd rather pay the extra to say.
I'm going to have to follow your lead on that one. I cannot support nor deny your comment.
Burgundy Wines. Anytime somebody says,
when you
why
said
would
the
you?
bat.
Yeah. Well, tying it back into wine, that would be like Burgundy. Like, somebody like, why would you pay $1,200 for a bottle? Is it that much better? You're like, no, but I mean, these are wines that were planted by Caesar when he was moving the gulls out of. No, I mean, it was, right? Wasn't it?
But I mean, yes, the vineyard, yes.
Yeah, they planted those
vines,
grapes.
yes.
I mean, they were literally pushing the gulls out down into Germany, and they stopped in France. He was like, hold this, like, one of the greatest military campaigns of all time. He's like, hold the boat, let's plant vineyards right here in Burgundy, right? Like, you can still, some of those plots of land are still there to this day, and that's why that wine's $1,200, not because it tastes so much better, right?
I was just like, you made me think Caesar was making the wine. And
No. There's a great book called Wine and War. I think
that's
I think that's where I got
interesting. I've never read that one.
Yeah, it's all about, like, war and wine. Wine and war. Go figure. But anyway, that's where I got all that information from. And I was
so you're going to hold out on me, or can we taste it?
Yeah, you want to taste some? So what our goal was in making this rum is to balance, right? Complexity, flavor. We make our rum different than anybody in the world, right? So I'm not going to tell you how to make rum, but essentially what we did was we blogged about sugar for a very long time. We found this sugar that's made in India. It's called jaggery, and it's where they take pure cane juice, and instead of putting it through a centrifuge and pulling out all the impurities, impurities being white cane sugar, brown sugar, and then molasses, right?
Yep.
So that all comes from just pure juice. And then what you're left with is clear juice, which is, what is your simple syrup or whatever that's natural without preservatives. But what we did was we found this sugar in India called jaggery, and it's got all that stuff left in it. When you melt it down, it's pure cane juice with all the white sugar, brown sugar, and molasses still left in it, and nobody's ever used it before. And that's the only pure way of being able to make rum here in North Carolina, because pure cane sugar goes bad very quickly. In about 2 hours it goes bad. Yeah, so that's why everybody uses molasses. And so we wanted to make more of a rum agricole style thing, agricultural rum. And so what we did was we called India. We said, what's this dehydrated cane juice? Well, it comes in a brick. It looks like heroin. I don't get caught for 8 years, so I know what bricks of heroin look like. But,
I like how you clarified that. It was because I was a cop.
Yeah, it was because I was a cop. No, I've never done heroin, nor would I ever. But
I've seen it in the movies.
Yeah. And so, we called them, and they don't make alcohol in India, right? It's against the law. And so we asked them how they did it, and they were like, well, no, we don't have any information. So I actually called an Indian chemist, fermentation scientist actually, and the guy was like, oh yeah, you can ferment it easily. And we were like, great. And we're like, well, can we order some? And they're like, yeah, but if you're going to order, for us to make this worth it for us, we're not going to do anything less than 1,000 pounds. And,
wow.
We don't have any loans, we don't have any investors, and we don't have any credit cards. I mean, this is just our money that we throw in it. Over the course of 3 years, we saved up money for this, all of us. We were just pitching in money to an account. And
one big piggy bank.
Right. And so, for us to take 1,000-pound gamble on the sugar that nobody's ever used before was crazy. So we got an Indian market in Cary, North Carolina, to split it with us. So he took 500 pounds and we took 500 pounds. Once we got it here, it's a 14-pound brick. And how do you get it back into sugar? Do you put it in a microwave? Do you boil it? And so we tried all these things. It was just taking forever. We couldn't figure out how to do it. And we found the best way to do it is just beat it with an axe. So we have hatchets. So we still do it this way. We lay out a big tarp. We bust it down with hatchets. We dump it all into a vat, and then we pour hot water over it. Well, then we didn't have any yeast that could eat this we couldn't find any yeast that would eat it. And so our distiller, Jude Finance, Jude started manipulating yeast. He started growing and cultivating it straight from the ground up. We started with Kveik, which is this Nordic yeast, and that's kind of like the parent cell, I guess. And he could get a lot nerdier than I can about this. But basically, he took that, mutated it, and started growing his own yeast outside of that. And so we have this big, giant yeast growing operation in our laboratory, which is fantastic. And it puts out these crazy esters. And then the only thing I thought we were missing to go really traditional rum, that Jamaican style, was the funk. And in Jamaica, they have this funk because it's a third world country, and bugs often get into their open fermenters, and they got to get the bugs out, and the bugs have already laid things that spoil the rum, and they let it spoil so far that it actually gets good again.
Yeah.
So it smells like a Band-Aid, smells like vomit, and then it starts to smell like chocolate, and then bananas, then overripe bananas, and eventually pineapples, and they call it the funk, right? So we're like, how do we get the funk? And so we started letting these, we take a certain batch of rum, and we let it open ferment. We allow Brettanomyces and lactobacillus to kind of take over, which is just natural yeast that are normally bad for beer making or anything like that. And we let it go bad until those esters start to smell a little bit fruity. And then we take it and we add it into a good fermentation and we distill it, and that's what gave us our funk. And so right when we got, after a year, in every batch of our rum, and we've been open a year and 4 months, year and 5 months now, every batch had been different. From the day one. So day one was like 100% molasses, and then we started adding sugar and we didn't like it, and then we started getting jaggery, mixing it and blending it. And so finally, after about August September this year, we finally found a recipe that I was like, okay, this is it. This is the best rum that I've ever had, and I really enjoy it, and this is it. This is perfect. We entered it into the John Barleycorn Awards, which is an international spirits competition. It's our first rum that we ever put in, and it came back. We got a gold medal right off the bat. So so the first rum you're going to drink is our gold medal, 80 proof white rum. Nobody makes white rum that you can drink neat. Everybody mixes cocktails in it, but this has got this very grassy, earthy, funky. You can taste the kind of thickness of the molasses, but you don't get a lot of molasses taste. You almost get like a smokiness to it.
The grassy right off the bat, when you said that was the first.
John Barleycorn called it the John Barley, which is Master Psalms and spirits writers. They called it dried apricot.
It's really nice. It's really easy to drink, and to your point, it's not like super molasses. It's not like
no. It's like it's more grassy, right?
Yeah,
like it's more like this.
It feels like it would make for a good workhorse behind the bar.
It's a great daiquiri.
Because it's not. It feels like it plays well with other ingredients.
It really does. Obviously, we're tasting it in this Hawaiian Christmas drink that you got to taste here.
Yep.
But it's just this really good grassy kind of. It's very rum agricolish. Like if you've ever had any RHUMs, that's the difference there. RUM versus RHUM, but it's a very RHUM tasting rum. It's a very RHUM tasting RUM. It's going to be a great song. Our next one is just our signature white rum, but then we've added spices. And just rather than just throwing spices at it, we've added the best spices in the world. We use Ceylon cinnamon, which is clone. I think it's clone 5 Ceylon cinnamon from Sri Lanka. It's the oldest surviving cinnamon clone in existence. So it is a little bit cinnamon heavy. We've tried to mellow that out over the years, but you got this little vanilla, kind of a caramel thing left behind. But again, we're kind of going for balance and structure. I don't think our spice rum is there yet. I think it's still cinnamon heavy. And so before I put it into any awards, I'm still trying to back off the cinnamon. But when you back off the cinnamon,
it's definitely cinnamon forward, very much so.
Yeah. And so and it's crazy because we add less cinnamon, but then when you add less cinnamon, the anise pokes through. Yeah. So then we added less anise, and then the clove poked through. So then we were like, fuck it, let's just take off everything. Like let's just let less of everything, and the cinnamon came right back.
Yeah.
And we were like, what in the devil? And so then we started adding like more burnt oak to try to get like more vanilla thing going, and the cinnamon still poked through. And so like we're still 9 months into the spice rum, and we've changed the recipe every time, and blasted, the daggone cinnamon just won't.
Well, it'll round out. I mean, you'll find it. It's funny when you said poke, and what I was seeing in my head is when I was tasting like spikes of and it wasn't round.
Right.
But it is. But it's. I mean,
it's very tasty, and it's one of our best-selling products.
Good at, like any kind of Christmas.
Oh my gosh! And what you're about to taste in this. What is this drink, honey? I mean, I know what's in it, but this one's called Stuff My Stocking, and it's a coffee liqueur made with our spice rum.
This is really good. I bet this could be a hangover though.
Oh, it's so delicious.
So good though because you drink so many. and all that.
Well, actually, this is
good.
your this is when you wake up with a hangover. This is your hair of the dog.
Little hair of the dog,
right?
Yeah.
Because it's still got that coffee. It's
Yeah.
still like overtly coffee.
Yeah.
Taste to it. You can't
Yep.
really even taste the rum.
No, you can't. It's really nice in here.
It's like more like Bailey's, right? But you know, that just kind of shows you what our spice rum can do. It also goes great in hot buttered rum, which is
I
kind
bet.
of my favorite. You know,
Yeah.
I love hot buttered rum at this time of year when it's cold outside.
This would actually be good to cook with. I know that sounds...
Oh, it is.
I don't
yeah,
mean to
no. We flambe
mean-
with it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, like I made a butter rum pecan pie this year,
geez.
and this...
Yeah.
But I just went with I used rum out of Hawaii to make it, and it's honey and cocoa, and it's this distiller's working on it,
Yeah.
but the particular bottle is really good, and it's really good to cook with. Obviously,
Yeah.
with those honey.
And you shouldn't
notes
cook
and
with
the
anything
cocoa
that you're not
nuts.
willing to drink, right? So like
Absolutely.
when you say you're cooking with my product, like that to me is a sign of, you know, like that doesn't offend me at all. I'm like, oh, great, because a real chef doesn't cook with something that he wouldn't drink. So if you're saying you
Absolutely.
cook with it, it means you drink with it. Chef Puak from Conspiracy Cuisine flambéed a Cuban sandwich on a stick. So he deconstructed a Cuban sandwich, put it on
Interesting.
skewers, including the pickle, which was my favorite part. The skewered pickle, I've never had it before. It was intense. And he flambéed the skewers with our white rum, and it was really cool.
What does the rum do in that scenario?
I don't know.
Did you taste it when you ate
Yes,
the food? Or
you could taste the kind of grassiness on top of
Could you?
on top of the Cuban
Yeah.
sandwich on a stick. So basically, you know, it's like
I was just
pretty
wondering
cool.
if it just made a flame, or did it really?
no,
did you
I
get
mean,
the rum
no.
that-
You could definitely kind of taste that kind of like
Interesting.
that. You know, and that's kind of.
I mean, with
the
savory
earthy, like,
food,
it's very
yeah,
earthy,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it brought that whole earthy gaminess kind of to the
Cool.
to the Cuban sandwich
I
on a
have
stick.
not ever done a flambéed. I just got in the South, huh?
Let me get some of that flambe.
Sandwich on the
yeah, light that on fire. That's my North Carolina.
Do you get in
voice.
trouble when you do that?
I don't really get in trouble. I'm actually, I got Officer of the Year.
Oh,
And
I guess the top military keeps you from getting past.
when I got Officer of the Year, I got fired the same year. It was viral news. I got fired the same year that I was Officer of the Year. I got fired because I opened up a distillery.
Yeah.
And
how those blue laws
They said
work.
They said it was unbecoming of an officer to own a distillery. They gave me 3 days notice.
That is
which is really
like,
funny.
because this is still the Bible Belt, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
This
crazy.
is the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
This is the capital of the Bible Belt.
Yeah. I was trying to be nice there.
yeah.
But wow, I just can't believe that could still.
It was the best thing that's ever happened to me because the story went viral. I was on several podcasts, really big podcasts.
Well, why do you think you're
It
here?
was
No, I'm
great.
kidding.
Yeah, right. It was awesome. So getting fired from but it was funny because everybody was like, "Man, how does he get Officer of the Year?" And he literally says whatever he's thinking. Like, I'm the most politically incorrect, most offensive, disgusting piece of shit human being you've ever met. And
I
they gave me
don't
Officer of
believe
the Year.
that.
I am. I, in the sense that I say exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I don't care what you think or how you judge me. I don't care. I've never cared what anybody thinks about me. I try to wake up every day, and I literally, even when I was a cop, I said a prayer every day on my way to work. Believe it or not, I do pray, as foul as I am. But I would pray every day. I said, Lord, if there is the call, and I call it the call, and the call is not something, crazy, right? Like some people, the call is like, oh, I'm going to be a hero, and I'm going to say today. No, to me, like I said, God, if there's the call, help me to answer the call. Whatever it is today, it's the call. And the call is always there's somebody broke down on the side of the road, and I don't want to pull over to help them because it's hot as fuck outside. I'm in this uniform, and I don't want to get dirty and go back to the locker room. That's the call. That's the call that I prayed that if I see that, Lord, help me not to be so fucking lazy that I don't pull over and help that person. The call is when you go to the domestic and you know it's bullshit and you know it's garbage and they're just drunk and they need to go sleep it off, but it's taking that next step and spending 5 minutes with a child in the next room that's just fucking scarred for life and trying to be a good person to that child. The call was not like the heroic, like let's get in a gun battle and be a hero. The call is all the bullshit that you have to deal with that you don't want to do as a cop. So as a cop, I woke up every day and said, like, Lord, whatever the call is in the city, that one that nobody wants to take because it's just asinine and there's a shit ton of paperwork and there's no glory in it and nobody's gonna give a fuck how you did or what you did and you're not gonna get an award for it. Like, help me to answer that call. Like, that's what I want to be on this earth for. And that's really what I took pride in being a cop, was just like driving around and trying to find not the heroic calls, but those calls where people actually like physically need you. But in that, I would always joke and say whatever I wanted, and highly offensive. People would be like, man, it's so funny that you could walk into a place, say that, and the people just smile and still give you hugs and thank you. Like, if I would say something like that,
I think what it is, it's
how you say
intent. I think there's intent.
You know what? It's funny. Like when I was in Afghanistan, I was cussing this dude out one side down the other. And I told my interpreter, I was like, look, you fucking tell this guy every fucking word that I say, and I don't fucking care if it offends him. I don't care, like, this piece of shit. I want you every fucking word. And he was like, all right, hold on. I was like, no, there's no holding on. You tell him every word that comes out of my mouth. He's like, wait, you say so many cuss words, and we don't have words that are equivalent to the cuss words that you say. So the context isn't coming through. I was like, what do you mean you don't have cuss words? He was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like, why would you invent words that you can't say? And I was like, what? And he was like, in Afghanistan, we don't have words that you can't say. And he was like, and you're saying words that you can't say in your own language, but we don't have words that we can't say in our language. So it really isn't like as impactful as you might think it's being. And that's why he's still smiling at you. So we're having this whole debate, and there's this like, this Afghan dude just standing there like, oh, what's going on? He could tell that I'm angry. And he was like, so you need to articulate yourself better. I was like, don't you use words like articulate. You're from a third world country.
Don't you correct
You
me,
offend
damn it.
this man. You offend this man right now. But I always took that with me because I was like, man, wouldn't that be crazy? Like that there's cultures that don't have words that are off the table, that they don't have things that really are offensive. Like they just don't invent those kind of words.
Yeah, well.
Like, why did we invent words that we can't say?
Well, also because, I mean, the English language is just a mixing
Melting
bowl
pot
of all kinds of languages.
And
of all
some asshole
languages.
decided there were a few words we couldn't say.
Yeah.
Fucking
Jackass.
Hate that guy.
Yeah, no kidding.
So yeah, so now the
Let's
next
not
rum.
hate on. What is this? What
The
am I
next rum that you're going on. Now this is something special. So there's this young college guy that came in here, and he was like, "Look, I'm from NC State. Hold on. Once I explain it to you, this is all going to make sense to you." So a guy comes in here and he says, I'm from NC State. I started this master's program in business, and we had to write a business plan. We had to do this thing. And when I graduated, I took my business plan and actually made the business happen. And so basically, he started this company called Ava Laboratories. And what they do is they age spirits in a machine. And we've all heard of that, right? Mm-hmm. But that was started right here in North Carolina.
Wow, that's
from
crazy.
NC State. And I said, yo, I've heard of it. And I was like, to be honest with you, give me your pitch. Let me hear it. Because he's young. I mean, the guy's like 26, 27. No, he's probably like 28.
Asshole.
Yeah. So young guy. So he's telling me this whole thing, and I said, okay, so what distilleries do? And he's like, well, we actually have like, I think he said like 28 or 38, something like that. We got 38 distilleries that use our product, but we sign non-disclosure forms, so we're not allowed to disclaim who they are. And I said, that's such bullshit. That's like what's wrong with this industry. And I was like, I'll tell you what, just to prove a point to those guys, I've tasted stuff that's been aged through technology, and I think it is great. I'm kind of a purist, but I'm more of a reasonableness than I'm a purist. So I believe in like being reasonable. And I was like, I'll tell you what, dude. I'll start this project with you. And this was like a 10-minute meeting. I was like, I'll start this project with you. But I'm calling the rum Ava rum. It's not going to be called amber rum. It's not going to be called aged rum. I'm going to call it Ava for Ava Laboratories rum. And the whole back of the bottle is going to be about how we age this through technology. And we're going to be 100% transparent about it. And I'm putting your picture on our website, and that's how it's going to go. Or I'm not doing it. And the guy was like, oh my gosh, you would do all that for us? I was like, yeah, because I want to tribute to thinking outside the box. I want to be a tribute to creativity and ingenuity, but I don't do gimmicks here at Instill Distilling Company. We don't do fucking gimmicks. We're here to win. We're here to make the best rum on the planet, but we're not tricking anybody. Yeah. And I was like, I love your attitude and your position on life, and I don't want to say no to a guy like you because I know the grind and I know what it's like to try to be creative and get shit on all the time and be an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship sucks. Yep. It's the worst thing in the world. And I was like, so I'll do it. And so he was like, well, the problem is I don't know if the Tax and Trade Bureau, which is who regulates all your verbiage on your bottles, they're very strict. He's like, well, they're going to make you classify this rum. And I was like, well, we're going to classify it as Ava, which isn't a thing. And so we sent it, and we actually got a call back from the federal government. They're like, so this looks like it would be an amber rum in classification, but you put other, and you wrote in Ava. Like, what does that mean? And I was like, well, look at the back of the label. It explains exactly what it means. And they're like, well, don't you want to just call it amber rum? Because, I mean, you're still using oak chips and everything. And I was like, no. Because if you put amber rum on something, that makes the layperson know that it's been aged on oak, and I don't want anybody to pick up our rum and think that they've been bamboozled or fooled into what we've done. So I said, we want to do Ava rum, and it'll be our own classification, which I'm guessing is going to be suicide for competitions because there is no Ava Labs category. So I think we're going to have to enter it under amber rum. I don't know. We haven't put it in for any awards yet. But what we did is I wanted to make this rum.
My branding background, even though you run into this classification issue when you were talking about award winning, but with your consumer, you're being forward. You're being straight. I mean, that's I applaud you for that. For branding, anytime you can be true, right? And earning the trust of your consumer is earning it and keeping it.
And that is what we're all about. We wake up every day to be living examples blue collar, what blue collar ethics should be, man. And I do it, people say like, what is your why? That's what the entrepreneurial thing to do is, what's your why, man? My why is that I want my kids to see that you can do shit the easy right, or the hard right way than the easy wrong way, and that you don't have to throw money at your problems. It's not about going and getting investors. It's not about going and getting credit cards. It's not about, literally we started with 6 hats and we sold those 6 hats and bought 12 hats. We sold 12 hats, we bought 24 hats.
Yeah.
Now we sell 24 hats on a fucking Saturday.
Yeah.
We sell more swag in here, almost than we do bottles. Our swag is insane. Like, everybody's on our website, like, just ordering the shit out of our swag. They love it. We produce great quality swag. But we're very honest in our swag as well.
Yeah.
And so, I want my kids to see a living example of what it's like to wake up and to grind, to get up at 8:30 every day, or to be at work by 8:30 every day. And again, not just going and getting millions of dollars, getting 32 investors and trying to make overnight success. I don't believe in an overnight success. I don't think that'll ever happen. People can be like, what about Tito's? They just blew up. No, Tito's fucking worked his ass off for 10 to 12 years.
Yeah.
Like in his basement before Tito's was $1 billion, billions with a B, industry, and I have a lot of respect for Tito's.
They just bought my friend's parents' property.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
That is dope.
Yeah, they're his parents are the neighbors. When I say neighbors, they own like half of Austin. They have like the acreage that they own is like in the hundreds of acres. Like, I don't even know. It's like, I'm like, you have what?
Yeah,
your dad and mom own what?
money.
And so Tito's bought a portion of their ranch. Texas ranch.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's
I need to make sure I stay friends with this guy.
Right. So that's kind of what we're about. So this rum right here is 86 proof. Because what do you do with rum, right? You make cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
So I figure if you're gonna put it in a cocktail, like, let's make it just a little bit stronger so that when we put it in a cocktail, we're not diluting it so much. I spent a lot of time going over oak blends. We tried French oak and American oak, 100% French oak, French charred oak, French heavy charred oak, French low charred. We spent, you could literally make a different rum just on different chars of oak and from around the world. This one we went with American medium charred oak at 90%, and then we did, or 95% maybe, and just a little bit of like 5% heavy char oak on this one, because I don't know. I like the feel of it better. I like the mouthfeel of the American oak versus the French oak in this particular style of rum that we're making. And I just thought, blindly, and we do all this blindly, blind tasting. So I don't really have any agenda behind why we went 100%. Which is the blend that we picked blindly. Yeah. That we felt was the only thing I would do more to this right now is I want more body to it. I had come up with this blend in the summer. And so
it's a nice,
summer,
but it is. No, I can
light,
see that.
Right?
But
in the summer, light was what was great.
And so do you know Green Hat Gin?
No. Mm-mm.
So Green Hat Gin was the first gin distillery, or first distillery in DC.
Okay.
Since Prohibition.
Right.
And they do some beautiful gins, and they have their spring summer gin, and then they have their winter gins, and it really doesn't.
Yes.
And one has rose hips and cherry blossoms, of course.
And I think that's what we're going to end up doing. Is this will be our summer?
His fall, winter is more juniper, a little stickier, and it's really nice.
That's exactly how you should do it.
And I wonder. And Jonathan is his name. He's super nice. He and his father-in-law started.
I'm gonna have to go get a bottle of that.
Yeah, they have great branding. Oh my God, shut the front door. Their branding is amazing. But yeah,
our branding is whatever. Ashley, can you make us the Manhattan or the Palmetto since it's made with rum? Yep. Would that be okay? Because I want you to taste that. Because that was what. So they did the spice rum with the common one. But speaking of branding, like we wanted our brand to be like more like wine, right? So we went with the wine bottle to be like more wine, and then we were like, well, what do we put on there? And I was like, well, if you go into a wine shop, right? And you look at all the bottles of wine, they're beautiful, and they're not very gender specific. So they're not masculine or feminine. Like, think about it like a good Chianti or Bordeaux, or and you're holding it in your hands, and it just looks classy.
I think there's a few French bottles or wineries that I would say feel very feminine in their execution, but it's not necessarily feminine. Does that make sense? Like, it's not like I've got, that's,
it's just like, I don't know, like, a good bottle of Bordeaux, they're just always pretty to look at, right? Yeah. and usually they have like the Bordeaux or the Chateau. I mean, not the Bordeaux, Chateau. They have like the little Chateau like on the thing. Like think of like Chateau Lafite. Like they have like the actual Chateau on the
from the
brick
winery.
walls. And a lot of Burgundy wines do the same thing. And Côte de Rhône, they do a lot. So it's not like there's not like a feminine picture or a masculine picture.
No.
And it's usually like outlined with this thin gold strip, with like a deep mahogany red border around that. And it just looks classy, right? You just feel good holding it, And all over the world, Chianti the same way, right? Like, I mean, Chianti, that's not an overtly masculine or feminine bottle of wine. It looks great. Spain, same way. They get the little gold net, which the girls will be like, oh, that's pretty. And guys will be like, that's badass, right? It's not masculine or feminine. But if you go into a liquor store, it is overtly masculine.
Yes.
Like, it's almost like 100% masculine, unless it's overtly feminine, like bitch climax vodka, like glitter bomb sparkle vodka made by, Mariah Carey. You know what I mean? Like, and even if it's the best vodka in the world, I can't drink it. Yeah. Because it's fucking glitter girl savage climax vodka, and I don't climax, right? Like, I fucking orgasm like a real man.
I was like, wait, hold on. Does your wife know this?
Yeah. I come. I don't climax. Sorry, that was terrible. I told you, I'm a huge piece of shit. So Captain Morgan, Admiral Nelson, Jameson, Jack Daniels, and I mean, every one of them is like a dude's name, right? Old Nick Williams, overtly Jimmy Johnny. It's overt, and the images are all manly, right? Like, and so I was like, I want to make a spirit that goes on the shelf that's not masculine or feminine. Yeah. That when you hold a bottle, it's just pretty. And there might, being that we're like savage special operations, my business partner's got 14 combat deployments, tier 1 special operations on America's most elite unit. And so, him and I having this conversation with our lawyer's like looking at us like, Tom, our partner, he's like, you guys are like savage, like rugby players, like fucking killers, and you guys are talking about like masculine and feminine, like it's got to be beautiful and class, And he was like, you guys sound like a bunch of women. And they kind of like
turn around and say thank you?
We did. I said, well, wait a minute, that's it. Like, that's our whole thing, because like we've done nothing but preach hard work and family first values, and nobody works harder than a true lady. A true lady gets up first, she goes to bed last, she's strong, they're powerful. Like, a fucking man doesn't mind holding on to a woman, and a woman doesn't mind holding on to a powerful woman. And I was like, what if we do portraits of true ladies, and we do a contest called Portrait of a True Lady, and we get this artist, and we do portraits of women who inspire hard work, family first values. That's it. We don't give a fuck about their politics. We don't give a shit about their social issues or their social fucking whatevers. They just have to work hard and take care of their families. Other than that, like, boom. So we did this art contest. Bruce Corona, terrible name for the times, but that's his real name, Bruce Corona, spelled the same way. Corona, beautiful artist from the 82nd Airborne. He won our competition. And presented us with our Lady One white rum, who, I don't know, you've seen her, Lady One, and she's just powerful. She kind of looks like, her name is Marissa Best in real life, but she looks like Amelia Earhart.
Yeah, she does. She definitely does. And she kind of reminds me also of, We Can Do It, You Can...
Rosie Riveter.
Thank you.
We've gotten the girl from Game of Thrones, the young girl that grows up.
Arya.
Arya, we've heard that a few times.
She poke you with the pointy end.
But going back to our labels, we pick these true ladies, and each one of our ladies has a story. So our Spice Rum lady, she has a story. Our Ava Aged lady, she has a story. Her name's Temple Phipps, and you can get on our website and you can look up their stories. And their stories are really fantastic.
Oh, that's cool. So these are real
women, right? It's our Spice Rum. That's Elizabeth McCullough. She's obviously a person of color. You can see from the thing. But as of recently, after the George Floyd incident, Black Lives Matter was coming through, and they were doing a lot of protesting, and it was getting really crazy. And our little town of Clayton's just not set up for that. Like, we really, I mean, if they came through here, it would just ruin the town. We don't have the kind of money that the city of Raleigh or Durham has to go and fix that kind of stuff. We're just a very small town. And she ended up getting elected as like president of the Persons of Color Coalition of Clayton, which was like this coalition of colored folks that got put together. It's crazy that you can say colored folks again. It just seems wrong going off the tongue, but that's what they say now. So this Persons of Color Coalition, and they did a great job unifying the town, saying like, hey, look, we've done so much to overcome racism, and really Clayton has had all these diversity concerts, and we've had some great concerts. Nappy Roots has played here, which was one of my favorite bands from the 90s, early 2000s, and so we've had all these cultural events down here. And thank God we have, because they were kind of like, hey, Clayton you guys don't need to come through here. Like, this is a town that's actually doing it right. Like, this is a town that doesn't really see in color.
Well, I think that it's the way you live, right? It's not a, here's my stance today, and there's where we have a lot of our issues, I would say, but if you truly, this is the first time I've been here. I just got here on Monday evening.
Sure.
It's a cute little town. It's so
cute.
Stinking cute.
It's so nice. And so friendly.
Yeah. I mean,
and no drama. Very little drama in this town. And so, we're really, really proud to have her. And so, like, we get,
You're an old town, but relatively new.
We're old, and it kind of collapsed, and it's on its rebuild, so.
From what I understand, anyway.
Yeah, that's what you're exactly
the little
right.
history that I've gotten from being on the street.
On the streets of Claytona Beach. That's what I call it. We're not anywhere near the beach, but I'm from St. Augustine, north of Daytona, so I call it Claytona Beach, which we have a cocktail named after that. But yeah, so, and it's so funny because, and then Temple, she adopted this child from this woman on an airplane, which is a crazy story. She was on Good Morning America and People Magazine, and so you can look her up. It's Temple Phipps, and it's a great story, and we were proud to have her on the bottle.
I bet.
And it's just, our ladies are everything, right? And they inspire what it is to be a true lady. And so, but it's funny, we give the tour and we talk about that, and there's always some woman in the group, she puts her fist up like, yes, women's power, or, black power, or whatever power. And I'm like, actually, no, there's no power here. There's no agenda. Like, we didn't come out and say, like, let's get all the women to get behind our brand and women's rights. Not that we're against it or anything, but like, that wasn't our agenda. Just being fully transparent. We were just like, it just kind of happened by accident. We're just like, Portrait of a True Lady. We're not trying to take a stand for or against anything. We don't care.
Like, as a consumer, though, sometimes you find that, even though and it's not a negative. She found people find greater meaning and can relate to and feel more empowered by. Yeah. And I think that's when brands actually behave more naturally, where they're more human. We might say something that we don't even, it's like throwing a smile at somebody. You don't intentionally hope that you're going to make their day, but you never know. You may have just given them a little, you didn't give anything away, but you gave them exactly what they wanted. I think that's sometimes when brands have true authenticity, that people can ingest it, and really it becomes a part, and you're speaking to her on a different level that you didn't intend to.
We didn't intend to,
but it's all positive.
It is, and that's kind of like, we don't, people ask us, because being a cop, right? First thing that happened with the George Floyd thing is like, what is you guys' stance on Black Lives Matter? What is you guys' stance on this? What are you guys going to celebrate Blackout Tuesday? Are you going to do this, or what are you guys going to do? And I said nothing. Like, I'm not going to do anything, because I wake up every single day, and our staff wakes up every single day to be great human beings. Like, that's all we want to do is be good human beings. When you drink our rum, you're outside of wherever it is that you're at. Yeah. So if you're a piece of shit racist and you're drinking our rum, while you're drinking our rum, hopefully you're not thinking about racism. You're thinking about hard work and blue collar ethics, right? Yeah. Like, if you're a black man that's been oppressed his whole life, when you're drinking our rum, I hope you're not thinking about oppression. When you're drinking our rum, I hope you're thinking about good hard work that you did to earn our rum. That's why we say work hard and good things happen. Or, our original motto for our company was hard work, family first, and at the end of the night, enjoy a craft beverage. And the whole meaning behind that was, if you've worked really, really hard and you've taken care of your responsibilities, i.e. your family, then at the end of the night, you deserve to drink a cocktail, a spirit, any way that you want. Drink it straight, drink it neat, put it in a cocktail, put an ice cube on it, don't put an ice cube on it, we don't care. It's more important to us that you took care of your responsibilities first, and then you drink it. And we preach that here at the bar. We've never had to kick somebody out because they're too drunk. We've never had to worry about a DUI because I think it's the culture that when you walk in here, there is a sense of culture, of blue collar pride, and we want you to be inspired to be a harder working human being. Work harder, complain less, work harder, and there is no social issues. We don't get behind agendas. We don't care.
That in itself is a social issue, to be honest, because you're just saying, be good to your family, work hard, all of the things. Those are all social standards, right? But in a good way. And I don't mean the intent behind. Again,
and it's funny because like if you come to our bar on a Friday night, I'll promise you we have the most diverse bar in town. I promise you we have the most diverse group of human beings. We have gamers that set up on Saturdays and play these like Dungeons and Dragons style games for 12 hours straight on board tables. We have rugby teams coming in here to watch rugby. Yeah. We've got black, whites, Indian, Hispanic, Cuban. I mean, it's like a cultural melting pot in here. There's nothing in here.
Which is kind of, it says a lot because this town is small.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's very culturally diverse. I
Yeah.
mean, you've got all the pharmaceutical companies are here, and so you've got this big mix of lots of cultures coming together to work at this one plant.
The few people I've met, I'm starting to see, we're all from all walks of life, and not in a bad way, in a very good way.
And, we've got surfing on, and my wife always makes this joke. She's like, when I was in high school, when I was in high school, that, I didn't run with any crowd, and that if you look at a yearbook, I'm with like every single crowd. I played football, I was on the high school surf team, I was track, and I bounced around to everybody. I had my own style of clothing. I was kind of more like this weird combination between punk rock and surfer, but I just really didn't care was my genre.
That's hilarious. Like, how do you wear like a black leather jacket and board shorts? I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, no, it wasn't really even that. It was just like I had this like grunge about me because my mom bought a lot of my clothes at garage sales. Just in that, I was always a full blast, yeah. And my hair was all nappy and we can't say nappy anymore. My hair was all ratty from the salt water.
Yeah.
My hair would get all gross from being at the beach all the time. And so I've always had this like weird, but I didn't want to be like known as a surfer. And still in our bar, she jokes that like your bar is the same way. Like it's just crazy that there's not one single demographic. Like our brand doesn't have a demographic. Like I don't know what our demographic is. It's all over the place, man.
I think rum is one of those spirits that actually does cross over, and then maybe because of its origins, maybe its relationship to like the islands or that mindset that island vibe, and island vibes
no
are
worries,
like
pure Vita.
Yeah, live and let live. Just living in Hawaii, that maybe that's why it just feels.
Maybe
like
that's why I picked rum. Like maybe you just showed me the light. You're like a therapist. Like maybe that's why I did it, because rum, it really is, and rum can be so many things. I mean, as you see, like you tasted that Ava rum, like that's the rum that you could drink neat, right? And then like we have drinks that we can make a tiki cocktail, and we have drinks that we can make a traditional Manhattan or a old fashioned style thing. And that's seeing now that I'm a year and 5 months into this, like we're able to just now kind of sit back and say like, wow, like this is what we've built, and like we're still going. We're still making huge moves right now.
Good.
Now that we just won this gold medal too, like we know that we have a good product, and we know that we have this like super fancy product, but we don't want to. We are really out to prove something, and that's
you're
something.
Only as good as the last thing you've done.
Exactly. That's what I told them. That's what I told the staff. I was like, boys, like it's Monday. Like we're not going to live in yesterday's gold medal.
Yep.
So, I mean, like I'm really big on like, if it doesn't have to be done right now, don't do it. Obviously we want everything to be very clean and everything, but we don't waste time. We don't do things that don't have purpose, and we get out there because to me, the culture, keeping people motivated, is the most important part, because when you come in here, there's vibes floating around. As cheesy as that sounds, there are your vibes floating around, man, and people can sense pressure, they can sense intensity. And I don't want them to sense any of that. I want them to sense fucking, you can say whatever you want, you can do whatever you want. If you want to wear a mask and have your own private table and have me serve you with a mask and gloves on, I will. If you want to be anti-mask and you want to make out with the girl on the stool next to you, we'll let you do that too. We don't care. We're not going to judge you. We're not going to ask you about it. We're going to accommodate whatever it is that you want out of this joint, this establishment, within reason. We're going to provide that experience for you, and it's really worked itself out.
That's great.
No fights, no drama. We've never had a bad review.
That's good.
So we love this place, man, and it's really cool. I hope you like it.
No, absolutely.
I hope you like the rum.
I do, very much so. It's really interesting when you talk about where you're in like that transparency about like often you won't have someone say, I don't think it's quite where it needs to be yet.
Yeah,
which is it's interesting. It's because I mean it's
because if I said it's perfect and then you taste it and you're like, Jesus, this isn't perfect, you no longer are going to believe me when I say I do have something perfect.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
Like if I'm selling it and I tell my bar staff like, hey, look. Sell the truth about what our rum is to people. Like our bar manager is great with that.
But the other thing is that you can't be everything to everyone either.
No, but we're going in a sense of deductive tasting. So is there balance in the spice rum? No, there's not, because it's cinnamon forward. If I put my spice rum in front of 8 people and say, what's the first thing you smell? I think 8 people will say, I smell cinnamon. So there you go. That right off the bat, just on aromas alone, deductively would not be a balanced rum at that point. Like you don't even have to taste it. So, we're going for a deductively tasted and tested product. That's what we want.
But to your point, there's honesty behind the brand.
Yes.
And once you lose it, you can't get it back. You can't gain it back.
You'll never trust me again, But for our white rum, like I'm passionate about my white rum. I think it's the hardest working white rum. I think if somebody were to make a movie on how it was made. I think it would be a very entertaining movie. I mean, there's literally blood, sweat, and tears behind that white rum. I mean,
You
I
don't
broke
say that
my
during
foot.
coronavirus. You don't talk about the blood, sweat, and tears
Sure.
or anything.
Yeah, there was a lot of fevers behind making that. I'm not kidding. But I mean, like, I broke my foot kicking a fermenter. Because we lost a whole batch, and I don't usually lose my temper that bad, but I mean, this business has really taken me to some really dark places and some really high places. I mean, my wife never saw me cry, and working in this business and trying to get this thing open, I mean, like, literally, I've shed tears like a little bitch. I came here at like 2:30 in the morning and had like a fucking meltdown, just by myself in here alone, just a weeping bitch meltdown.
Well, that's what happens when you do something that you love, though.
Yeah. But I
truly
mean,
love it.
Yeah, and that white rum, like when it finally came together, and I said, dude, like, this is it. I don't remember the day in September. I said, holy shit, Jude, you've done it. Like, this is magic. It's magic in my mouth. This is the best white rum I've ever had in the United States. It's not the best in the world, but it's the best I've had in the United States. I said, okay, like, I want this entered into a contest right now. Let's see how we do. And it came back gold. We got that rating back last Friday.
That's great.
And I cried, happy tears. I mean, my wife,
course.
I mean, I couldn't hold it back. When my wife read me, I couldn't even read the note. I was so nervous. She read the note, and she said gold, and I thought she was kidding, and she wasn't, and it was just overwhelming in the moment. In here alone,
That's cool.
just us in here, but it was like, it was my own little Emmy Award.
Yeah.
In here, there was no fucking crowd, nobody like to give a speech for, but I was still like giving a speech to like Jude, my wife. I'm like, I just want to thank Jesus. I want to thank my family, my kids. Fucking Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. Did you jump on the couch?
Yeah. Actually, I just heard his, like, he had that eruption in their new movie. I fucking dug it, man. Like, he got mad. He got mad on set.
Oh, yes.
Cursed out his thing, and like the media was just running away with it, and they really turned it into something political. They turned it into like he's upset with Corona, and people aren't. It was nothing to do. Like, I listened to that, and I don't know Tom Cruise, and I don't believe anything the media says anyway. So I'm not going to make my judgment on what the media tells me to judge. I mean, what the media does say Tom Cruise, I think he would be an idiot, but I don't believe the news, so I won't judge Tom Cruise until I actually meet him. So when I listened to that with an unbiased attitude, I heard that yelling, and I was like, that's a man who's passionate about getting his job done right now, and people around him are fucking up, and people are fucking up the movie. If you got to wear a mask because the movie's got to get made, and because there's thousands of people getting paid on set, they got to get their fucking money. I don't think it was about wearing a mask because he cares about COVID. I think he was like yelling like, hey fuckers, like, do you guys want to fucking make a movie? Do you want to get fired? Do you want to not have a movie because the Film Actors Guild's gonna fucking shut us down because you fucking idiots don't want to wear a mask, and you want to go finger fuck the strawberries over there when you're supposed to be doing blah blah blah? Like, knock it the fuck off, or we're not gonna have jobs. And like that, I respected. I was like, that's a man who's passionate about getting a movie done, who's passionate about the guy's job. Like, that's how I saw that speech in my head.
Were you Tom Cruise?
So thank you, Tom Cruise.
There you go.
Yeah, I felt it. So I love Tom Cruise.
So I have one last question for you. And so if Gina, who's my co-host, were here, she would ask you a question. She ends every...
Married.
Yes.
3 kids. Sorry, Gina.
She asks, all the kids today identify with they have a spirit animal.
Okay.
And she'll come up with something brilliant. They see themselves as a monarch butterfly or a wombat in the outback of Australia. Whatever. But if you were a spirit ingredient.
Oh, a spirit ingredient.
Anything you
Fuck, I'm all like thinking about animals right now.
Yeah. Anything you cook with, drink, consume, any ingredient.
Any ingredient.
What would be your spirit ingredient?
That was a lot harder question than spirit animal. Spirit ingredients. Fucking, I don't know. Cardamom.
Cardamom. Why?
I don't know, because like cardamom has like a really great aroma. Like I call it like a potpourri type of spice. And cardamom always gets overlooked. Like everybody knows the nutmeg, everybody knows the allspice, everybody knows the clove or the cinnamon, but people always overlook the cardamom. You know what I mean? And the cardamom plays a huge part.
It's underestimated.
Yeah, it's just fucking cool because it's cardamom spelled neat. And nobody talks about it. Like if you're like, oh, I added cinnamon, they're like, cool. But if you're like, I added cardamom, they're like, fucking fancy.
Oh, you are fancy.
Yeah.
You are fancy.
Yeah, damn, cardamom.
You're pinky up cardamom.
Yeah.
Cardamom. You see, for me to say all this rum.
A world full of cinnamons be a cardamom. I don't know. That's the craziest question anybody's ever asked me.
That's awesome. Well, good. Well, if Gina were here, I think she'd say good job.
What a fun drinking podcast.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for taking your time to come all the way out here.
No, yeah.
And hang out with us.
Yeah, thanks for having
you can
me.
find our rum anywhere in North Carolina. And but at the end of the day, like fuck my rum. Like get excited about rum. Get excited about drinks.
Yeah.
But think local, man, and think craft. And for the crafty people who are listening to this, stay crafty.
Yep.
Remember that's what's going to separate the craft spirits industry. That's why craft beer won, right? Yep. 10 years ago, it was too hoppy, and I don't like the hops. And now what? Everybody wants to put fucking hops in a glass and just drink that.
Yep.
So you've got to get creative, man. Like stop making the neutral spirits and putting them in oak barrels and fooling everybody. Like make good spirits that don't need an oak barrel. Put the things in the oak barrel for those who like it, but let's get crafty. Let's get experimental.
I like to think most of our listeners, because we are the at-home bartender, are going out looking for the right things, because we only get behind brands that we really believe in and think we're doing something different and really are expanding palates.
Yeah, and I said there's a time and a place for everything. There is a time and a place for all beverages. And being here that we're in North Carolina, we have a North Carolina wine called Duplin. You haven't heard of Duplin?
No, I have not.
Oh, it's got the dolphin, the lighthouse, the seagull. It's made with that Carolina muscadine. It's super sweet. It's really syrupy.
I don't know it.
But you know what? People always say when I'm teaching wine classes, I say there's a time and a place for everything. And a lot of the wine snobs and us learned wine guys that we all fall into wine snobbery at some point in our careers, they always say, well, what do you think about Duplin then? If there's a time and place, well, I said, you ever been in a hot tub with a bottle of Duplin and two hot ladies? Best bottle of wine I've ever had. Just don't tell my wife. No, I am kidding. But but seriously,
honey, I didn't mean it.
Duplin wine at the beach is a lot more refreshing than any badass Bordeaux that you can bring to the table. So I would say,
I can't even imagine red wine at the beach.
Yeah, so I always say, there's a time and a place for every beverage, and it's your job to find that time and a place to enjoy it. And so,
I always say you drink what you like.
You do.
Because last time I checked, you got one liver. So I burn it from what I really enjoy.
Another one. I mean, you're just full of
wisdom.
Philosophy. Is that the right word? Trying to act smart to keep up with you.
It's
you even dress smart. Like I'm dressed like a huge piece of shit over here, and you look all fancy with your trench coat on and your nice scarf. I look like a bag of.
No, you're doing apples. I'm not making rum though.
That's true.
I'm just talking about it and drinking it.
Well, thanks so much.
Right. Cheers.
Cheers.
So, what do you think, Dwayne?
I got to tell you, there's some. This is some interesting juice. How long have they been distilling?
Only for 18 months. And that
Wow.
white rum just won a gold medal.
It's certainly unique. I mean, I'd love to have a daiquiri with that. I certainly would love to have a daiquiri with that. But each of these rums, when I hear new distillery, new rum, I'm kind of I'm not a rum snob, but I certainly love my rum. So when I'm ready to, anyway, these are delicious.
Yeah, you impressed with them?
I'll be grabbing for them. I'm glad these are my bottles.
Yeah.
I'll be drinking them again. Quite
Good.
tasty, and if someone asks about them, I can wholeheartedly say, you should try them.
Great. So out of those three, what are you going to use to make a cocktail?
Well, I got to tell you, before I showed up, I was definitely going to make a daiquiri with whatever rum. But this spice is so interesting. I think it's worthy of a riff on a cable car.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, so Cable Car San Francisco by Tony Aboganin is a blend of spiced rum, Grand
I love
Marnier.
Tony, just so you know.
What's that?
I love Tony. He's been on the show.
Oh, yeah.
I heard him.
Tony's a good guy. I'm sure he hearts you too. I know the man. So I'm going to go ahead with an ounce and a half.
Ounce and a half?
Of that
Okay.
of that spiced rum.
All right.
3/4 ounce fresh lemon.
Well, let me catch up with you. 3/4 ounce of fresh lemon. I should have cut this ahead of time. Sleeping on the job on this side, Dwayne.
Well, did you make your simple syrup already?
Of course I did. So when you say 3/4 of an ounce of lime and you're squeezing fresh lime, was that really like almost a whole lime if your limes seem to be of like regular juiciness?
Limes are so temperamental. Sometimes you can get, I've had ounces give me almost a full ounce. I've had whole limes give me less than half ounce. So
Yeah.
you know me, I am a big fan of the jigger.
I know, I should have grabbed. I was just, squeezing the lime directly into the glass. I'm such a
Well then,
rebel.
go half lime or go whole lime, depending on how much. I'd go whole lime if you're not
Okay.
measuring anything. Because you're using simple syrup and Grand Marnier, and you know Grand Marnier is already balanced, and simple syrup carries it. So.
All right, I did that. Okay.
Now, is your glass chilling?
It is now.
Chill your glass and then rub it in that special cinnamon sugar that you told me you had there.
I do. So what
I'm
else
going to
should
start the shaking.
What I think I missed what was supposed to go in my shaker. Can you give me a
Grand Marnier, 3/4 of an ounce.
Okay. 3/4 of an ounce. Ooh, we gotta squeeze the bottle to get that out. Use it too much.
We can fix that.
And then what do I have? How
You
much
got your whole
Simple?
lime,
And how much?
3/4
Simple?
of an ounce. 3/4 of an ounce.
Equal parts. Everything's equal. That makes it easy. Okay. Done. Time to rim my glass. What's the trick? Do you have a trick to rimming glasses to make sure it stays nice and on the edge?
Well, what I do is I chill my glasses first, and then once they're chilled, but dry. So like if you keep a glass in the refrigerator, take it out for a minute, it'll start to condensate, and then you just tap it into the sugar. In the absence of that, wet the side of your glass, usually with your lemon, your lime.
Okay.
But you want to keep it. You don't want it too damp, and then you can just touch it down. Yeah.
There we go. How's that? What do you think?
I think you've done well.
Great.
See.
Alrighty.
All right, get to shaking. Get to shaking.
Nice and frosty.
And then you know me, I strain as many times as I possibly can to get all those little ice chips out. That's
So double
like
straining
that.
is a good idea.
Or you can leave ice chips in if you like. Makes it quicker. Or then you just have to drink your
There we
drink
go.
faster before those ice chips melt and dilute it down. Pretty orange twist.
Okay. All right. And just, you want to twist it over the top?
Twist it over the top, then rub it along the rim and drop it in.
Okay. I did it. Cheers.
Oh, that looks tasty. Cheers.
This is really good, Dwayne. Yum.
Yeah, this
Really
this
nice
works.
with the spiced rum. Yeah, really nice with the spiced rum.
You know, the spice-
I know that I wouldn't say their spiced rum seemed had really cinnamon forward, and even Eric talked about it, obviously. So what do you think? You like that cinnamon forward?
I absolutely love cinnamon. So I was torn between going with the cable car or going with cinnamon and grapefruit in a Donga Punch style drink, which is like my favorite tiki drink of all times. But I settled on this one because I did. And
Because you can. Well, it's interesting if anyone, if you couldn't say, okay, so Instill being a new distiller, we always want to support up and coming distillers. They're, harder to get, harder to find. They're definitely in North Carolina. They made it into ABC stores for them, which is really great. In what is when you look for a spiced rum, this is a category I don't know. I know almost nothing about. What do you look for when if we were standing in the aisle and looking at an aisle full of rum that you're like what suggestions can you give our listeners?
I gotta tell you, a lot of people say they like spiced rum or they don't like spiced rum, and there's one brand out there that pretty much defined the category before all of the wonderful entrants that are available now. So when I say spiced rum, if you could say that, no one orders a spiced rum and Coke. They call it by name. Everybody calls for the captain. there's definitely other spiced rums out there that some yield cinnamon, some lean cardamom, some lean vanilla. There's an amazing variety. So it's as broad as the rum category itself, and it really can be dictated by your preference. Yeah. If you're looking for a spiced rum, and you enjoy, spiced rum usually translates into baking spice, right? So some lean more clove, some lean more vanilla. Cinnamon's definitely always there, but some get ginger. Well, your friend Todd here in DC has his green spiced rum with cardamom and lemongrass and all these different things. So spiced rum has really been opened up, and it's amazing what the category can produce. And it's not just that generic baking spice semi-sweet rum. There's some dry spiced rums with some pleasant flavors. So I know that wasn't helpful for anyone looking to make a decision, except for
explore. Don't close down the category. Like. Yep, and go beyond the known brands. Go into maybe the more crafted spaces and see. That's great. No, I mean that's great, because obviously just standing there looking at it, sometimes to your point it's a varied, spiced spirit. So be adventurous. Don't let one help decide for you. Because this is lovely. This is really nice. So thank you.
I would buy this just for the bottles. Standard bottles, but it has that wine. I'd buy it just for the bottles. The wine bottle. It's like buying wine. You go through and you don't know any of the wine labels, but you catch one. So you buy your trusted and true, but you want to try something different. So you look for the artsy labels that appeal to whomever. Certainly to me, I like that. So, and these are great labels. I mean, these women they're looking. Each one of them is looking just past me. So I feel like I know them.
Yeah.
Some pictures look right through you or look like they're looking at you. Each of these women are looking just past me, like I'm not in the room, and I'm attracted. I love that. So I would pick up each
Enjoy
one of these.
Emotionally unavailable, do you? Eric and I did talk about their branding and how the whole point was to obviously stand out in the category and stand by their values. So I thought it was very interesting because the guys who started it are very guys, and the fact that they have very feminine labels, I think is and they feel very passionate about it. It wasn't just on a whim, or we thought we'd be better in the category. It wasn't just pure branding that got them there. They had a lot of emotion behind and reasoning behind their branding. So I, of course, applauded them for it. So, well, I'm glad you enjoyed the rum. And it's funny you brought up cardamom, because I did my job, unlike other times where I failed to ask what that spirit ingredient is. And aren't you proud of me that I remembered to ask him about his spirit ingredient? And they told us that he was cardamom.
Oh my gosh, yes. Cardamom.
So, all right then. Brought you back some gifts from North Kakalaki.
And the rum's good.
Yes. Good. I'm glad you like it. All right, well,
I like this rum a lot more than that Hawaiian rum that we met over.
Actually, and you always get this wrong. We met way before then, and you just don't remember it. We met back at the Four Seasons. You were sitting you weren't working. You were sitting in the booths over in the corner, and Torrance was working, and he's like,
she was checking
"Hey,
me
that's the man over there."
She was checking me out. And then she came over and looked right past me.
Well, I'm glad we know each other now. Cheers. Thanks to a beautiful
Salute
cocktail.
to you, dude.
All right. Have a great day. The designated drink is show is produced by Missing Link, a podcast media company dedicated to connecting people to intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Missing Link is a proud partner of Hearing Charities of America, a nonprofit organization that supports those who are deaf or hard of hearing. To learn more about HCOA or to find out about Missing Link's other podcasts, head over to missinglink.company. That's missinglink.company.